Okay, now we're going to give an overview of the major publications that you use during terrestrial navigation. Unfortunately, I don't have my physical copies of these anymore, but I do have them downloaded on my computer. So while this isn't the best format, it will help for us to at least just quickly run through how they're all organized. And depending on what versions you get, you'll be able to buy one book that has all of these organized into a single physical unit, and we usually just call it the Coast Pilot. But to be clear, for the training version that we use for STCW testing, it's not the Coast Pilot. It's both Coast Pilot 2 and 3, the Lightless volumes 1 and 2, and the tidal current tables. These are also not up to date. These are valid as of 1983 when STCW was first organized, but they are representative of what a valid tide table or light list or Coast Pilot would look like. So if we go to the Coast Pilots first, you'll see Coast Pilot 2 here is for the northern eastern coast. So Cape Cod to, I believe, to Sandy Hook. There's its first page. And this, what a Coast Pilot is it's just a collection of general descriptions of the coastline all along the American coast. It only applies for U.S. territories. It will give you descriptions of the general area, the weather you can expect in that area, the bottom type, what the coastline itself looks like, how much traffic is going to be an issue, what kind of industry goes on in that general area, as well as things, major nav aids in certain regions, anything like that that is of note that you will need to information you will need if you ever were to be sailing in the area. So you can see here's the contents page, breaking it down even more into more specific regions. As we go through here, it's having trouble loading. General information, not necessarily that important. Though when we finally get down into the actual major sections, if this loads fast enough, Christ. All right, new plan. 50. We'll just go to page 50. My God. Okay, 100. Now that was too far. As you can see, there's a lot of extraneous information that it is useful to have, but the majority of the time you won't need that. What you'll need is these more detailed sections. New London Harbor. So you can see at the top of the page here, this just says that we're working in the general area of the eastern Long Island Sound. And then all of these pages here are just describing what that coastline looked like and what you need to know about it. So you could see, like if we take the first paragraph here, on the west side of the approach to New London Harbor, foul ground extends about 1 mile from the shore in vicinity of Goshen Point, and it will give you the exact chart where you could find that information visually. The southerly and southeasterly limits of this area are marked by buoys. The area has numerous rocky patches and boulders. Great. If we scroll down and look at, say, White Rock in Greens Harbor, this will give you information on that as well. When you come into harbors, it will tell you what you need to do to deal with bridges, the general tides and currents for the area up here. And then you can see over here, it will give you information for contacting tugboats, as well as contacting pilots. Starting up here, pilot information is usually pretty in-depth process, so you need to read up on it a lot. Let's come to a different area. So let's see. So you can see we were just talking about Goshen Point. Here, it seems to have finished talking about the general area of Goshen Point and is now moving onward from there. So from Goshen Point westward, there are scattered boulders which extend offshore as much as 0.2 miles. Eventually, you'll get to Jordan Cove, and then to Flat Rock, High Rock, and it will give you information on all of those things and what you need to know in those areas. So that's really how the Coast Pilots work. It's just talking you through the process of sailing coastwise in a given area of the country. The training Coast Pilot has for both Cape Cod to Sandy Hook and then Sandy Hook to Cape Henry. If we move now to the light lists, this is, as it sounds, just a catalog of all of the major lights and aids to navigation, in this case on the Atlantic coast. So once this loads, there we go. Covering actually a larger area than the Coast Pilots did. This goes all the way from Maine to further south in New Jersey. Talking you through all of the major lights along that stretch of land that you will be able to use as aids to navigation. Again, beginning with just introductory information. It also has a helpful key for understanding the different characteristics of lights, something we'll talk about in more depth later, as well as, I hope this is the next thing they show. This is just more information on how to read lights. Also very helpful, information on different types of buoys. I will have multiple dedicated videos on just these 3 pages alone. More explanations. Okay, I'm not going to make you sit through this. We're going to jump to 50. Okay, so we'll scroll up a bit. This is what the majority of the pages look like, and you can see it really truly is just a list of every single light in the area, its name, the number it's been given within the index of this book itself, so you could find it in the back of the book, its exact location, its flash characteristics, so what the light will actually look like if you were to catch it, its height above the water, its nominal range, and a description. So you can see in this example, light number 18765 is Stonington Inner Breakwater Light in Connecticut. It's at exactly 41 degrees and 19.8 minutes north, 71 degrees 54.6 minutes west. Its light characteristics are it's flashing red every 4 seconds. It is 27 feet high, has a range of 5 miles, and it looks like a T or F. It's hard to tell. There might be just an ink stain on a skeleton heart. I guess that's flashing red, but on a skeleton heart tower with a concrete base. And you'll see every single light has a description similar to that. Some of them are buoys, so obviously they can't have an exact location because they move, but it will just give you an explanation that there is also a buoy in that area. What I do want to show you in a second. Let's come to page 30. I hope this is where it starts. Oh, perfect. So this is the coverage area. And then, yes, this is what I wanted you to see. The very first thing that you get before you actually get the tables of lights. So here you can see the light lists themselves and all of the lights starting at the very beginning of the coverage area are these two range tables showing you how to calculate the geographic range of a light, which we'll get to later, and the luminous range, because like I said, all of these lights have a listed range on them for how far that their light can actually reach, but that's not always necessarily accurate given, you know, the height of eye of your ship itself or the visibility conditions in the area at the time. So these tables here are used to be able to correct that information to your current conditions. All right, that's the light lists. Now we'll quickly run through, maybe not quickly, the tide tables and coast pilots, just so you can have a basic understanding of what they look like. The tide tables are a publication you can use to calculate the height of tide that you'll be experiencing at any given location at any given time within a single year. So you can see this is, again, set for 1983, but new ones get published every year to tell you what the tides are going to be like all across the country, or at the very least along the East Coast in this case. Let's go to 70, should be good. 70. You'll see they look like this. This is actually technically a main station. So this is a major oceanographic station that constantly measures its exact height of tide all throughout the day and makes predictions off of them into the future so that you could then publish next year what the height of tide will be at this exact location. You can see it's broken down to the exact time, the time of day where you'll have a high tide or a low tide, and its height in feet and meters for the entirety of the year. You'll also see in a moment, these are called substations. Every single one of these locations, they're more diverse, more varied, obviously, and they could help you locate more closely to your specific location. They don't have a full set of 2 pages dedicated to the height of tide at every time of the day throughout the year. Instead, what they have is correction factors off of a previous station. So like all of these areas here, it looks like it's actually, we're talking about in Canada right now. All of these substations are based out of Halifax, and if you apply these correction factors to the time at Halifax, you can get the exact height of tide in these locations. Later on, towards the back end of this book, you can they'll provide you tables for how to calculate the height of tide at an exact given time, not just at the high or the low, but precisely when you want it to be, as well as more minute things such as like rotary tides, wind-driven currents. That's actually in the current table, so we'll go to that next. The current table and tide tables are usually published as a single book if they're not already combined with the coast pilots. But the tidal current table, as you can guess, is just the same exact thing using the same exact system as the tide tables, but for calculating the speed of the current at any given location at any given time. So you can see it's printed sideways. Here's another list of substations. The only difference here is these substations are accounting for the speed of the current, not the height of the tide, though those two things are inextricably linked, of course. So with all of these 6 publications in STCW, you can use them to understand what it's like to sail in a given area, locate the exact lights that you'll need and what their characteristics are, and be able to calculate tides and tidal currents out of one publication, or in my case, 6 different PDF files.